Welcome back from the break. You're still watching Smart Men's Business, and surely getting more discussions this time around with our kind of business discussions. This time around, the SMB Insight is where we're heading to, and having more discussions rotating around pretty much research now, and of course also looking at the Uganda Bureau of Statistics report in regards to the headline inflation, which increased. That is according to which decreased according to new findings by the Uganda Bureau of Statistics. But from the perspective of research, I will be bringing in with Barija Andrew here.
Well, actually, this is very interesting. Yes, there was a decrease in the inflation, but the prices of goods are still, the prices are still increasing, despite the fact that there is this whole, they say that they're increasing at a slower rate as compared to the previous months, but there's still an increase anyway, because we are seeing the decline in the prices of fuel decreasing, but still we are seeing prices of goods and most especially food prices going high, but this has been largely attributed to not just the fuel, but maintenance costs that are involved with transportation and all that. And even we anticipate that in the coming months, there might be a little bit, because the economy is, honestly, it's still recovering from the COVID-19 effects.
And apparently even fuel prices are rising again.
Slightly, yeah, there was just...
So, with the annual headline inflation for 2023 dropping to 9.8%, that is a drop from 10.4%, which had been recorded by the end of January. So in 1 month this time, you can easily see that inflation has dropped. However, the Uganda Bureau of Statistics does say that although commodity prices are high, the rate at which they're actually slowing down is tremendous. So there is hope that most of the commodity prices will be
coming down. Could we say that the bank, when the bank increased, the central bank, the bank rate to 6.5 to 10%, the CBR, maybe could we say that it's kind of counteracting the effect of because that's one of the reasons why the Bank of Uganda did that, to tame the inflation. Because remember, last year almost every month it was increasing at a very alarming rate. So I think for the first time for over some good months, we are seeing the bank rate playing a certain role to a certain extent, though I cannot entirely put the reduction to the bank rate, but partly to that playing a role to tame the inflation.
Besides that, month-to-month inflation, on the other hand, fell to a single digit of 0.1%, up from the 0.2% in February, compared to 0.2% in January of 2023. So let's have this particular one from Alizik Lubega, who's a Director of Economic Statistics at UBOS, looking at the annual food, crop and related items inflation, and also breaking it down for us as it was being presented yesterday.
So the headline inflation is 9.2% for the year ending January 2022. Majorly, this has been driven by the core inflation. You already understand what core inflation is, and this has been registered at 7.8% compared to what we recorded for the year ended in January 2023, that was at 9.0%. So the reduction in this core inflation has led to a reduction in the overall headline inflation. The core inflation actually has been driven by the annual other goods inflation that has also reduced to 10.9% in this year ending February 2023, compared to the one we recorded for the year ended January 2022 of 12.3%. Specifically in this core inflation, we recorded maize flour inflation. This has reduced to 53.3% in this year ending February 2023, from compared to that one of 90.8% that was recorded for the year that ended in January 2023. In addition, we have the laundry soap inflation. This has reduced to 21.5% in the year that is ending this month, February 2023, compared to that one we recorded in the year ended January 2023 of 51.4%. For the annual headline inflation with regard to annual food crops and related items inflation, this has also reduced to 27.4% in the year that is ending today, February 2023, compared to the registered inflation of 27.6% for the year we ended in January 2023. Specifically, we see the inflation of matoke. This has been registered at 61.0% for this year ending in February, compared to a 72.4% for the year that ended in January 2023. Also, green pepper inflation has actually reduced, being recorded at 15.0% for this year ending February 2023, compared to what we recorded in the year that we ended in January 2023 of 43.5%. Bogoya inflation, that is under the category of annual food crops and related items inflation. It has also been registered at a low inflation of 3.4% in the year ending February, compared to what we registered in January 2023 of 21.8%. Looking at the annual energy, fuel and utilities inflation, this has been recorded on an annual basis or at 5.2% for the year ending in February 2023, compared to a 7.6% in the year we ended in January 2023. Majorly, this has been due to the liquid energy fuels inflation, which has been registered at 9.1% for this year ending February 2023, compared to a 14.8% for the year we ended in January 2023. What are some of the key drivers for this inflation? We look at items that have actually contributed to this reduction in the inflation, and majorly we said that COA has actually reduced. Other goods inflation is part of the COA inflation, and when you look at the items, specific items in there, you realize that on a monthly basis we have maize flour. You can see the inflation. Last month we had registered the inflation for maize flour at 90.8%. This February, the inflation for maize flour is recorded at 52.3%. Laundry bar soap, last month of January was recorded, had an inflation of 51.4%, and currently for this month ending February, the laundry bar soap inflation is recorded at 21.5%. Rice, you can see the inflation has gone down to 44.4% for this month, and last month it was at 52.0%. Refined oil, we've registered it at this month. The inflation is at 4.6% compared to what we recorded last month of 10.1%. Sugar inflation is at 42.8% for this month, compared to the sugar inflation we recorded last month of 50.4%. When you look at the category of food crops and related inflation, for February you realize that matoke inflation has come down to 61.0% compared to 72.4%. Bogoya 3.4% in February, the inflation, compared to a 21.8% as we recorded in last month. Green pepper, we are recording it at 15.0% compared to what we released of 43.5%. Watermelon has gone to a decline of 11.7% compared to what we registered in last month of 15.9%. Then sweet potatoes, we've recorded it at 39.2% compared to what we recorded in last month of 41.3%. And also when you look into the inflation, that is monthly inflation of energy, fuel, and utilities, you find that petrol, already as talked about, the inflation now is recorded at 1.5% compared to a 7.1% we recorded in last month. Diesel is 22.6% compared to a 30.5% we recorded last month. Charcoal, that is solid energy, we recorded it this month at 10.2% compared to a 14%, just to give you the drivers within the respective categories. So when you look at this, the headline inflation, we are giving you the overall inflation and what contributes. You can see the first line, what has contributed majorly. We brought that core, it is still coming out, which is at 7.8%. Then under core, we have the composition of other goods and services, for which I've actually given you what is driving the other goods, specifically the maize flours, and then services you can see, and then the food crops and related inflation, how it has performed with regard to the overall headline inflation. So in essence here, you will realize that almost all, we've registered declines within all the categories of the inflation that we report for this year ending February. On a monthly basis, here we normally give you, we try to compare a month and month, that is January inflation and February inflation. For this February, with the inflation for monthly is registered at 0.1%, and this is a drop compared to a drop from that drop of 0.2 that we had in January 2023. This was attributed to the energy, fuels, and utilities inflation that registered a drop of 0.9% in February compared to a 0.5% drop that we recorded in the month of January. And the decrease in this energy and fuel and utility inflation was majorly attributed to the liquid energy fuels, and specifically we are saying that petrol, we realized there was a drop in petrol recorded at 2.8% compared to a drop in petrol that we recorded in the month of January. At the food crops and related items inflation, majorly you realize that this inflation actually decreased by 0.4% in February, and this was the same rate on top of what we realized in January. We still had another decrease of 0.4% in the monthly inflation in the food, crops, and related inflation. And majorly, we note that matoke inflation decreased by 18.0% in February, compared on top of the 8.5% decrease we registered on in January 2023. Sweet potatoes inflation decreased by 6.1% in February, on top of that is from 2.3 decrease percent or registered in the month of January. We realized that here in February we did not see any significant change, meaning that the rate at which it increased remained the same, so there is no difference compared to the one we realized a drop of 0.1% in the month of January. And this was majorly due to the decreases of 0.3% in February, that is for other goods and services, compared to a rise that we registered of 0.3% in January. Specifically, we see that maize flour as well on a monthly basis has decreased, and this you've already seen by 21.4% in February compared to a drop that we registered. So on top of the 2.1% drop we registered in January 2023, we again registered a drop within the inflation of maize flour by 21.4%. Roundry soap registered a decrease by 3.7% in February this month. This one compares with the drop recorded in the month of January 2023 of 0.9%. And you realize why are we having a 0.0 in core inflation? You see, when you are looking at this inflation, there were some increases and also some decreases. So this majorly within the core inflation on a monthly basis, these decreases were offset by the increases registered actually in February. That was of 0.4%, and this was of services, monthly services, compared to that drop we recorded of 0.6 in January.
All right, and that is according to what was being released yesterday from the Uganda Bureau of Statistics. Of course, UBOS did reveal that with the headline inflation dropping, they've come to realize that however much the prices are still high, there are those that are actually dropping, and it's going to be within a few weeks' time, and most of them will go back to normal. So when you look at the fuel prices now, they have already increased again. The fuel, which was at 5,050, is now at 5,100 at most of the stations countrywide, especially around the capital for now. So this still poses a lot of questions within this same report that was released, and it takes us back to the kind of discussion we had last time, that are we supposed to continue following these statistics, or we follow what is on ground at the end of it all? We have Sam Lanifa joining us this morning as well, and Bariti Andrew still in here to discuss more about what is trending within the world of business. The inflation dropping, then something else to do with the office of the Prime Minister. Andrew, your take on this one? You look at the fact that UBOS says that it is not as people think it is, that now inflation dropping, people shouldn't mind about the fact that the prices are still high. They are likely to drop, or they are going to drop.
Well, according still, we don't really have reports about this, like prices really dropping. Maybe the only aspect that we should really anticipate is probably that the rate at which they will increase will be just a little slow compared to the previous months. But also, what really got my attention when I was going through this report was the fact that our economy, looking at some of the dominant sectors in a way, we're seeing the service sector taking a very biggest percentage, and that's about 51%, agriculture, forestry 27%, manufacturing about 22% in there. Well, what we should do, what I would really urge Ugandans out there, in my own opinion, is that of course the COVID-19 effects are still really ongoing, and we anticipate the inflation to really keep on going. But what if we largely give a try to the service sector? This whole thing about agriculture, well, that agriculture can only be really of great benefit if when there is mechanization really put into effect, because services are it's not easy to value a service, and in terms of trying to weigh its pricing or something, and a service is something that can cross borders with no cost, and which is not like manufacturing or of sort. So in that way, looking at the current inflationary, of course, what's really going on, the current inflation figures, I guess we can try to find a solution other than saying, what are we going to do next? I would suggest we could really head into the service sector, since it's not its value. The way you value service is not as compared to it's not as direct as when it comes to the manufacturing side. Well, the UBOS report, I 60% disagree with it, because vis-a-vis what is really on ground. Honestly.
Let's talk to Hanifa here. What is your take on this report, UBOS? Of course, they've highlighted month-to-month inflation. On the other hand, fell to a single digit of 0.1%, up from 0.2%. I actually thought, you see, when these figures come out, from 10.4%, that it had already hit double figures. It's already in double figures anyway. But at least this is a drop, a slight drop from 10.4 to 9.8. That is 4 percentage points there.
Yeah.
Your take on this? I do remember last week, last month, you did mention that sometimes we really don't need to follow these statistics because they are just written on paper.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I'm going to speak like an ordinary Ugandan.
Sure.
These statistics are very confusing to us as the Bantubawansi. Like, I should put it that way. Sometimes when you read these reports, these statistics, these numbers are not adding up. Like we were discussing it with my other colleagues. My friend who did this story, like, this lady told us this percentage, and then when you look into the reports, they are saying different things. So I'm actually going away with these statistics themselves. Me, I'm not a mathematician. I hated math. I'm looking at what is happening on the ground. If you're telling us inflation is going down with this percentage, it is now at 9.8. The commodities are now rising. The price of sugar is increasing. We manufacture sugar here. Why is it happening like that? Yet you're telling me the inflation is going down. The prices of fuel, earlier on were getting down, but now they are coming up. Then what is that? If you're telling me inflation is coming down, and then the prices of commodities that we ordinary people use are still high, then it doesn't really make sense to me. I need someone to explain it to me further, so that I explain it to the person, the Mutua one, see that the person that I'm talking about, because these things really are made for those. I don't know how they come up with those statistics anyway.
Okay, just also break down simply here. The annual maize flour inflation dropped to 53.3%, up from 90.8%. Huge drop there. Laundry soap from 21.5%, up from 51.4%. So there's a drop in there, with according to what the Uganda Bureau of Statistics revealed yesterday, or released yesterday. Now, there's a new talk in town which is rotating around iron sheets, boats, Karamoja. But iron sheets, there was somewhere I read someone saying that it seems these iron sheets were actually shared on WhatsApp. It was just a text on WhatsApp, someone saying, Andrew, I'm giving you 100 iron sheets. Hanifa, I can send you, for you have 50. So it was as if people were sharing memes on WhatsApp, and it's as simple as that. Taking us back into this, now the Speaker of Parliament also comes into the saga here. We have the first Deputy Prime Minister, who is also in the same situation here. We have the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, as well as the State Minister of, it's just like the Ministry of Finance, top heads are in there.
I am telling you.
And also the Minister in charge of the, is it Karamoja Affairs? I don't know if it's the right title. Honorable, is it Kantuntu?
Mary Kitutu.
Mary Kitutu, who is likely to be censored because of the same matter. First of all, take us through, how do we get into this saga?
It is really, I don't know, it is amusing, surprising, and absurd at the same time. Because Karamoja is one of the poorest regions in our country, and Parliament passed a supplementary just to cater for Karamoja alone, to give relief items to these people. These people are poor, they don't have food. That money, the 39 billion, was supposed to cater for iron sheets and the boats. But it is very absurd to hear people say, the Karamajongs themselves say, we have not received those things. The same people supposed to provide those items, they diverted those items to themselves. It is, I don't really understand it. And the funny thing about it all is, like, the people implicated have not denied. Like, I saw these things. like the speaker's name was put on the list. But once she cleared it. She did not die seeing these things. She said, I saw them in Bukeria, and I did not ask for them. So the question is, who was in charge of these iron sheets and distributing them to districts which did not want these things? These things were meant for Karamoja. Even the Prime Minister's office came out. The permanent secretary, Keith Mwakanizi, he said these relief items were meant for Karamoja. So we don't know how they reached Bugisu. We don't know how they reached Bukeria. It is very interesting and funny at the same time. It is. I'm so sorry, the president, the people, like his people, that the people he trusted. But this time around, it is mostly women that are implicated in this kind of. It is quite absurd.
Hanifa, something small on that. I was wondering when I was seeing this whole saga going on, how somebody can be so brave
and so
that I use the iron sheets
and
for
social
Karamoja
is ranting these people
really
down.
That was something which that I got at the iron
but the latest reports here show that he has apparently unroofed. So yes,
that is right. That is okay. That's the right thing because it wasn't right.
The New Vision newspaper.
Yes.
Yesterday there was a report. He was saying he was giving reasons as to why he did so. Obviously, I think I only love one thing about the fact that he's being honest and being confident enough to reveal as to why. Then also accepting the fact that what he did is wrong and unroofing. So my other worry is,
did he really unroof?
Yes, he did. No, after unroofing this, where is he taking these iron sheets? Is he taking them back to the office of Prime Minister?
I don't know.
Or is he selling them? I don't know. There are lots of questions.
Something very small. You're talking about unroofing. That's so. It also depends on what source is telling you that information, and that is expected.
No, according to the New Vision today, the headline in the newspaper, there are actually two images. One, the image before unroofing, then the second image is showing gentlemen who are unroofing and actually showing part of the roof getting already
Sure.
off.
Yeah, of course.
So, but then I still want to understand why are we having all these cases again in the office of the Prime Minister?
I know.
Okay, my humble opinion regarding that, it all comes back to okay. I don't know that I might sound political here, but it's not what I'm really intending to. For any aspects of, statistics, we've been really saying it. For any, can I say what people consider as failed states, when even the people within the governments are really, they don't feel like, they feel a little fed up of the current system. It reaches a time and you do what you feel like you want to do, and you know that no one is going to touch you.
But really?
That's what I'm thinking.
Like honestly speaking, this thing has really exposed the people that we respected, that we accorded respect. That's why that's why Honorable Semunjunganda Ibrahim yesterday requested the speaker that it won't kill to suspend Parliament for 2 weeks until we clear out this matter, because the same ministers we are calling to explain other things are the same ministers who are implicated in this saga, yet it is being investigated in with the Presidential Affairs Committee. It is really I don't know how to explain it.
It's very unfair.
I don't know. The president has not yet come out officially to speak about it. We are all waiting for him, because he's the one who chooses his ministers. And then he has been so against corruption of late.
And he's not aware of late. I think maybe
he's aware. This thing has been
for a reason or two. I've come to realize that Shem and some of these ministers of ours is something. No, they are very okay with it. Shem and I think they are close to Shem, because their relationship with Shem is something maybe they love. At the end of the day, you do realize these are petty issues you put out there. Back in the time during COVID-19, the issue was regarding food, really food.
Yeah.
And when you look at the beans people were stealing.
I'm telling
and,
you.
For sure,
yeah.
for sure. Beans.
Beans, for sure.
But anyway, it's something that Hanifa is definitely working on to give us more of the build up tonight in the bulletin business today.
Yeah.
I don't know what is your take on the current ministers in government, and of course 2026 will be another year for you to make another election.
Yeah,
are you sending in the same people, or you are sending in a bunch of new shameless people?
I'm telling you.
So we don't know anything about that. But for now, it is all hopes and prayers for our country, because some of the things now no longer surprise Ugandans. We are only left to laugh at our own selves and the kind of decisions all the people we put in there to represent us. But regardless of the fact, it is so absurd, I should say, for us to be arguing about iron shits. But anyway, that's it for the story preview here on Smart Links Business. After the break, we shall be getting back with more business highlights here on the show. Good morning.